Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're going to have a look at weather next week, 10 days, briefly in today's video. Then we'll have a look at CFSB2 for the next month. That takes us towards the end of October, so quite a bit to cram in. I'm running very late with today's video, so I'll try to whistle through everything quickly for you. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads, just links to articles or pages, have brands, widgets, click through links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll be helping us to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. For just our potential temperature, it's still lowering. Still way above average though, provisionally up to yesterday, 26th of September, we stand at 16.2, which is anomaly. It's still over 2.5 degrees above average, so still a really warm September. Obviously, the chances of a record-breaking warm September CET record have gone. We're not going to break the record, which was 16.8 from 2006. We won't beat that. But it is going to be a significantly, as you can see, warmer than average September. I think we'll finish up somewhere, say around 15.8 perhaps. Perhaps a little bit lower than that, but around 15.8 I think is where we will finish up for this September. So a significantly warmer than average September. It will be over 2 degrees above average. The GFS ensembles next couple of weeks, temperature precipitation ensembles. So the red line here is a 30-year temperature average. We're going above average the next couple of days. Some quite warm air being pulled up from tropical Atlantic. We'll feel warm in the south tomorrow, temperature at 22 degrees. After that, the end of the week into weekend turns a bit cooler. We get a cooler phase coming through then. And that's been extended a little bit, actually. It goes on into the start of next week, when generally temperatures are going to be around average to a bit cooler than average. Later on next week, signs are that we get another push up in the temperatures as well. So really up and down with the temperatures over the next week to 10 days, certainly. But overall, I suppose that's a fairly extended period of cooler weather that's coming up. In this period just here. That's quite a few days of cooler weather for the start of October. Precipitation, so quite a bit of dry weather over the next day or so, but as you get into weekend and then on into the start of next week, it does look as though things are turning wetter there, so we're going to see some wet weather at weekend, but we get more wet weather into the start of next week. Beyond that, maybe as you go through towards the second week of October, there's signs of a slight drying trend. But I think we've got quite a bit of unsettled weather to get out of the way before we get to that. There is a lot of uncertainty, though, in relation to next week, and I'll show you what's going on with the GFS chart for Saturday. So bringing a trough down across the country on Saturday. That's probably going to bring a band of rain through the country during the course of Saturday. We go through into Sunday, and that low pressure is moving away into the North Sea, allowing a little bit of a transient ridge to build behind it. So out of the 2 days this weekend, I think Sunday will probably be the best for drier, brighter conditions. Now, we go through into Monday, and this is the storm we were talking about in the video yesterday. Very deep area of low pressure forming in the Atlantic. The GFS idea yesterday was to run that in across the country. Today, the area of low pressure for storm is being generally kept out to the west of the country. It will bring wetter windy conditions, I would have thought, particularly to the north and west early next week, but I probably won't be impacted by gale force winds. The worst of winds looks like going to be remaining out in the Atlantic. We will bring weather systems in across the country early next week, if this is right, with outbreaks of rain. Into the middle part of next week, and we find high pressure trying to build to the south and east, but generally low pressure is still trying to drive in off the Atlantic, bringing more unsettled conditions with bands of rain, particularly to the north and west. Into the second half of next week. The driest conditions always in the south. And then we go up to and beyond day 10. This takes us Saturday the 8th of October, when we've still got ridging to the south and east. We've still got low pressure out to the north and west. So this is bringing wet conditions, or it's going to be, if it comes off, bringing wet conditions up to the north and the western side of the country. The south and the east, closer to this ridge, tends to get drier and warmer conditions. So even into October, it looks like we keep this general seesaw going on between the Atlantic trying to come in, trying to bring autumn, but still this ridge, which has been a semi-permanent feature really since the middle of July, still this ridge trying to cling on to the south and the east of the country. The ECMWF is very similar for the weekend. We bring a trough down across the country, which I think will bring outbreaks of rain on Saturday. Sunday, we build a little bit of a transient ridge in from the west. And we go through to Monday, and still the idea from the ECMWF that this ridge is stronger to the east. So, again, same idea as yesterday, that low pressure is stalling out in the central part of the Atlantic, taking the rain-bearing systems out here, but this ridge to the east is still bringing up these southerly winds. So still don't really have agreement between the GFS and the ECM as regards to next week's weather. GFS is much more unsettled, albeit it has shifted a little bit towards the ECM solution. Nevertheless, the GFS is still very unsettled for the start of next week with bands of rain. Whereas the ECMWF is much warmer and drier for next week, particularly for England and Wales. We go through the middle part of next week, then into the latter stages of next week, and weather systems are trying to come in to the north and the west, but still this ridge to the east of us is trying to maintain these southerly winds. So it implies that, particularly for the southeast of the country, we're probably going to get a lot of dry and warm weather next week if this comes off, whereas the rain will be in the north and the west. And there's no real end to this up to day 10, which is Friday, 7th of October. Still, it's a case of let battle commence with low pressure out in the Atlantic, but that stubborn ridge to the east of the country trying to fend it off. Eventually this ridge will be broken down and the Atlantic will come in, but how it happens, when it happens, still a lot of uncertainty. So no real agreement yet in relation to quite what's happening next week. It could be a pretty warm and dry week, particularly for the south and the east, or it could be probably quite mild, but really rather wet if the GFS comes off. We'll keep you posted on that one. Just have a quick look at CFS V2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 27th of September through to the 3rd of October, so from today through to next week. Low pressure is up to the north and west. We've got this ridge down to the south and bringing in a flat westerly flow. So this side's more with the GFS actually. It's more unsettled, albeit temperatures are still quite mild, quite warm, but it is more unsettled compared to what the ECMWF is doing. We go through to week 2, the 4th through 10th of October. Low pressure's out to the northwest. Heights are rising to the south. Jet stream is being pushed northwards as well. So this does imply that we start to bring up drier and warmer air probably from the south through that week from the 4th through 10th of October. We go through to week 3, which is the 11th to 17th of October. And still lots of anticyclonic influences close to the country. Look at that. Low pressure's up towards Iceland and Green, but looks quite weak. Jet stream's going to the north and west. So this, again, probably quite dry and fairly mild conditions continuing up to them. And then we finish up on week 4, which is the 18th through 24th of October, with this ridge becoming increasingly central over the country. So a lot of dry weather coming up through October, if this is right. Again, the jet stream going to the north. With this ridge of above average heights, high pressure starting to become virtually centred over the top of the country, we probably have to start thinking about cooler nights, particularly it's getting into the second half of October. The nights are rapidly lengthening. Under a ridge in the second half of October, it's not guaranteed to be warm. So we could start to get some colder, misty, foggy nights coming along. This is right into the second half of October. By day, it could still be pleasantly warm and sunny. Have a look at the temperature anomalies finally. So the coming week looks milder than average from 27th of September through to 3rd of October. Week 2, the 4th through to the 10th of October, also looking warmer than average. Week 4, 11th, 17th of October, that one is warmer than average as well. And it all carries on into the final week, which is the 18th, 24th of October. Temperature anomalies again generally hinting at being above average. Remember, we might be starting to get impacted by colder nights by that point. But if the model is right, and of course it's always a big if with these long range seasonal models, but if it's right, we're looking at quite a lot of dry weather. I think that's the message from CMSV2 today. Could be a lot of dry weather coming up. Also, probably quite warm conditions continuing into October as well. So still no sign of a real onset of autumn. It will arrive in the end. It may not be until we get into November at this rate, but eventually autumn will arrive. But at the moment, it looks like we're going to keep fairly warmish and dryish conditions going through into October. We'll wait and see how it plays out. Right, that's all for now. Tomorrow we've got 5-day forecast, and we'll also have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.